Good evening and welcome to the July 16th, 2020 meeting of the Grafton, Mass. Disability Commission. I'm Roger Trahan, current chair of the commission, and I call this meeting to order. As a preliminary matter, please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Christy Proctor. Christy, are you there?
I don't see her.
Okay, I'll move on. I'll get back to her. I'll move on to Daryl Reining.
Here.
Matthew Austin.
Present.
Welcome, Matt. Catherine
Thanks.
Dorr.
Here.
Melissa Lackey.
Present.
And Bob Perla.
Your meeting ID.
He doesn't look like he has the capability for audio.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just
Christy.
press pound to continue. Please
Okay,
enter the meeting password followed by pound.
Okay, so I got a message from Christy that she's connecting to audio, but the password isn't working.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter the meeting password followed by pound.
56978.
Can you guys see me? Because I don't think I have video.
I can't see you.
No,
I can see Catherine.
no, that was Missy.
You entered
Oh.
05698. This meeting password is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting password followed by pound. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
All right.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so hold on one second, participants. All right, so I see Christie's. I'm getting feedback. It's awful. So panel. Okay, I have all the panelists listed. Okay, Catherine, Daryl, Bob, Natoma, Matt, and Bob Perla, but I'm not, okay, attendees, I gotta get Christy over to, all right.
I'm not sure why you guys can't see me, but I can't fix it. I don't see an option here.
Who's speaking?
I'm having the same problem.
Yeah, neither one of you have video next to your names. So weird.
So, Roger, the first thing you need to do is on the video screen panel, if you right-click on Christy and mute her, then you won't get that.
Mute audio?
Yep.
Okay,
So now you won't get the echo from her because she had two mics on.
okay,
Um,
oh, I get it, okay, Christy, okay, I am in. So Jen Anderson, are you in? Can you see us, and are you just on audio?
I'm just on audio.
Okay, and I would have said anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. I will take that as an affirmative. Are you supposed to be catching this on video, or is there a technical issue? Jen?
You asking me that?
Jen, yeah, Jen Anderson.
Do I need to be on video?
No. Were you attempting to be on video and there's a technical issue?
Yeah, the option doesn't exist there. I was actually going to log into the town Zoom account to see if I could help you with anything.
Okay. I guess, I mean, if rather than try to do it here and solve the world's problems here, are you okay participating by audio? And is everyone okay with that?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
It works for you guys, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make it work.
Okay. All right, moving forward, this open meeting of Grafton Disability Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Grafton Disability Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as reflected on our agenda, which is posted on our commission's webpage on the town website, identifying how the public may join. Meeting materials. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. I will note here that the draft meeting minutes that we will discuss tonight for February 27th were distributed to the members but are not on the website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, and motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And for items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first read public comments and questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and/or applicant responses. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat feature in Zoom, and the chair will read real-time comments and questions typed by the computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board and applicant responses. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So moving on to the first item on the agenda, announcements. Okay, I have a few announcements, and I will ask if anyone else has any announcements that I'm unaware of. First, welcome to our newest Disability Commission member, Matt Offen, as the Select Board's representative. Matt has already familiarized himself with Grafton's ADA self-eval and transition plan. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Looking
right.
forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, same here. And shout out and a thanks to Donna Stock for her service on the commission, first as an at-large member and then transitioning to the Select Board rep. And do I have unanimous agreement to send, for me to send Donna a letter of thanks on behalf of the commission?
Yes.
All right. Any objections? All right, then I will do so. Thanks, Donna Stock. Moving forward, so Catherine Dorr and myself, was that Catherine Dorr and I, were recently reappointed to the Select Board for an additional term of 3 years ending June 30th, 2023. So let's do it, Catherine. You're gonna really make some impact. And probably as important as anything I'll announce tonight. In 10 days from now, July 26, 2020, marks the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, having been signed into law by President George H.W. Bush. That's the older President Bush. And through the ADA, our nation committed itself to eliminating discrimination against people with disabilities. This has brought us closer to achieving a future in which all the doors are open to equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, integration, and economic self-sufficiency for persons with disabilities. So shout out to ADA 30th anniversary. A reminder that the Disability Commission's 2019 report is now contained in Grafton's Bound 2019 annual report. And it's on pages 134 to 136. And I'm proud to say it really stands out in 16 font as a much more readable document than your average document. And I will see that it actually gets placed as a separate document on our webpage. And my final comment regarding announcements is that Grafton's outdoor town meeting on Saturday, June 20th, 2020, on the high school football field went smoothly, including the backup venue on the gymnasium for those who required that accommodation for whatever reason that folks needed to be indoors. Among them, it was pretty darn hot that day. So, you know, it was nice to see that, you know, accommodations were made and that things went apparently smoothly. Does anyone else have any announcements that they wanted to put forth? Moving forward, I think I should elicit those comments. Just feel free to throw them my way in advance so we can read them ahead of time. Yes, Daryl. Unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I just regarding town meeting and Bob Berger being our ADA coordinator.
Mhm.
Do we hear, or do we have a mechanism to get feedback on if everyone knew to contact him if they needed help or needed accommodations, or B, do people feel like that their needs were, you know, I don't know, do we need to figure out if more needs to be done to accommodate people for meetings like that?
I would say that there's always room for improvement in being sure that we're proactive in making sure that as many people as possible are reached in as many venues as possible in advance of the meeting. I think, first of all, many people may have stayed home because of the heat, but it's possible that, you know, there may have been people that were not reached. I will say that as Dan Conker was recently elected as town moderator, and I will be the presumed deputy moderator to him for town meeting, I will likely be involved in the mechanics of these things regarding town meeting. Okay, you know, I'll try to brainstorm and would welcome feedback from the commission regarding all the different ways we can really get the word out, including engaging with Mr. Berger.
Yeah, I mean, people need to know that that's who they need to connect with if they need accommodations for meetings.
Right. I think the contact person was the town administrator's office, select board office for
And
these.
He's the ADA
I know.
contact.
Correct. And I think that there's room for improvement entering fall town meeting, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is also an outdoor meeting. I'm not making any absolute predictions, but
right.
So,
Christy has her hand up.
Christy, where are you? Okay.
I
Where
think
is that little hand thing that I would have known that?
If you keep the participants log up, you can see the little hand thing.
Christy Proctor.
You have to unmute, Christy.
Christy, you need to unmute.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. So I think that we have to just keep remembering that we're really starting with a low threshold of understanding of what accommodations can look like. And if we can continue to just, be helpful and mention and suggest our ideas in timely manners. And I think, Roger, you said the next town meeting is October. So that means in August, we should definitely put the hand out to Bob Berger saying, hey, we'll help you with the wording for an invitation that if anyone needs accommodations to reach out, we can really, these small steps will make a big difference. And then the other piece, I think the technology has gone so far down the road and we haven't kept up with Grafton. I think that we should have the closed captioning no matter what is on the air. Whether it's like we had it possibly, if we had it, we would have had it both on the field as well as in the gym. I mean,
Right.
That would have been glorious. That would have been so accessible for so many people who really rely on, because of the sound and acoustics, they really rely on the closed captioning. So anyways, I just want to make sure we take advantage of this so
Okay.
that it's more accessible next time around. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, thank you, Chrissy, and let's talk about that in August. So, all right, if I could just step back a minute regarding the mechanics of this meeting. I know, Christy, thank you for having logged in during your vacation, but in advance, Daryl had agreed to, as far as take minutes for the whole meeting, even though we may be swapping things around in the upcoming agenda item regarding reorganization. So Daryl, are you all set right now with minutes? Okay. All right, thank you so much. Any other announcements that anyone wishes to make? Okay. Moving forward then with the agenda, if I can find the darn thing. Okay. Disability Commission reorganization for chair, vice chair, and clerk. I was looking back at our original meeting of September 19th, and it was kind of comical, the back and forth of who wanted to do stuff and who didn't. I'm willing to step forward as chair again. May I have just some discussion before taking any motions? Maybe open this up a little bit regarding chair, vice chair, and clerk. I know, Christy, you've been vice chair, and Daryl, you've been clerk, and you've kind of sometimes swapped that role. I know that.
I mean,
Yes, Daryl.
yeah, if I could come off being clerk, I'd like to come off being clerk.
Okay. All right. Does that, okay, so if there's a leadership role you would be willing to step into, what would that be? What would that look like?
I mean, I would be vice chair if people want me to. Is there anybody else? Is anybody else interested in being a chair or vice chair or clerk?
Can you build my chair? What is the function of the clerk exactly?
Well, it's interesting. The clerk, for the most part, has been
help you, but I'm not doing it.
taking. What was that? Who's speaking right now?
Nothing. I just had people walk through.
Oh, okay. All right. So, all right, Missy, that was Missy that asked that, right?
Yes.
That was
Okay.
me.
Okay. So, Missy, the clerk basically takes the minutes and posts them as well. But one of the things is I was reading more recently on the Mass Office on Disability. The clerks, I guess, at least as far as disability commissions are concerned, with the state guidance, is a role that is more instrumental in preparing the agenda. I really haven't. I mean, I've been okay thus far preparing the whole agenda, but the clerk is in these situations with committees and commissions expected to be more involved than the clerk has been on the front end in preparing the agenda, in addition to taking the minutes. And then as they are approved with or without amendments and changes, to then have them posted, submit them to the town clerk, who then post them on our web page. Okay. So I think moving forward, if I were to remain as chair, I would want the clerk to be, I would want to collaborate more in preparing the agenda. I've kind of taken that on myself. And there are times it's become, busy. Okay. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
So Christy, not to have you, Christy, and Missy duke it out. Christy, were you willing to be clerk? Is that something you were open to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, or if someone else wants the position. Sorry,
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm getting feedback.
Okay. Matt Afton, if you could unmute and walk me through this one more time.
I see Christy on here twice.
Okay.
So can you right click on one of those and try muting them? And let's see if they both mute. Can we hear you, Christy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So I have a laptop from QCC that's just wonderful to use, but it's not very effective with any Zoom. Anyways, I'd be happy to be the clerk if someone else would like the clerk, but I could be the backup. I'm happy to serve in that way as well.
Missy, what are your thoughts on the clerk role? Is that something you are ready, willing, and able to take on now, or if not, would you be willing to be back up to Christy as clerk if we voted her? If you could just give me your thoughts on that, Missy.
I'm open to any of that. I just want to help. So I mean, if she wants to continue to serve in that role, that I'm happy to fill in for her. Or if she's not interested in it, and
Yeah, what she's saying, she wouldn't be continuing the role. She would be basically swapping roles with Daryl, whereby Christy is currently the vice chair and Daryl is the clerk. And what they would simply be doing is swapping roles unless you were willing to step in at this point to be clerk, which I'd be happy to see you in that role. If you weren't in that role, there's certainly plenty of roles and hats that we'll be putting on in this next year regarding getting involved in many different ways within the community and within the commission and other boards and committees. So if Christy does serve as clerk and you do not this go around, I'm sure there'll be plenty for you to do if you're willing to volunteer.
Christy, how do you feel about it?
I'm happy to let someone else do it.
Okay. All right. So starting at the top. All right. Is there anyone else that was looking to serve as chair or willing to serve as chair other than myself, which I'm happy to do. It provides some continuity for another year, but let me know anyone share your thoughts.
I would like to see you continue in that role this year.
All right.
I'd also like to see that continue.
Okay.
I said.
All right. So is that all right? Do I have a motion?
Will you accept the motion?
All right. Who is? All right.
All right. Matt won. Who's second?
I wouldn't say I either first or second, whichever you want to count me as, because I brought it up as
Okie dokie.
All right. So Matt made a motion and Melissa Lackey seconded for Roger Trahan, me, to be the chair of the Disability Commission for this upcoming fiscal year start, retro to 7/1. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none by roll call. Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
Aye.
Matt Often,
Aye.
Melissa Lackey,
Aye.
Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Bob Perla,
Come here, let me see.
Bob Perla,
Did you get, where did you?
Gone.
Bob, are you there?
Does it look good together? Just on today?
Christy, could you mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
Bob Perla, are you there?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think so. And Roger Trahan, aye. All right, so by a vote of 6-0 and 1, I guess, abstention by default. Is there such a thing? I declare the motion carried. All right. Vice Chair, do I have a motion for Daryl Reining to be Vice Chair?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
I make a motion that we appoint Daryl Renning, or agree, I don't know what the language is, but make her vice chair for this year.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll be happy to second.
All right. And Christie seconded it. Any discussion on Mr. Hoffman's motion? Hearing none by roll call. Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christie Proctor,
Aye, aye.
Matt Often,
Aye.
Melissa Lackey,
Aye.
Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Bob Perla,
Aye.
Roger Trahan, aye. And so welcome aboard, Daryl, as vice chair. And allowing some leeway and some latitude without objection to the committee, would everyone agree to going back and allowing Mr. Perla to vote on the motion that was made that we had voted on for me as chair?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, everyone's okay with that? So Bob, what was your vote on me as chair?
I can't hear you. Could repeat it, please?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. What had happened is you kind of left us with the audio and video during the motion and discussion and voting for me to be chair for this upcoming year. Are you?
fine.
All right. All right. So we will count Mr. Perla's vote. Ms. Reining, if you could record that so that it's unanimous to include Bob Perla.
I'm sorry that happened. I had a problem with my Zoom program.
That's okay. That happens. It's a whole new world. Okay. So clerk. It seemed that to be the feel here that Christie was willing to cede that role to Melissa Lackey. Am I mistaken about that, or is that okay, Daryl?
I move we approve Melissa Lackey as the clerk for the Disability Commission for the coming year.
Second.
All right, motion made by Daryl and seconded by Matt for Melissa Lackey to be our clerk for the coming year. By roll call, Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
Aye.
Matt Often,
Aye.
Melissa Lackey,
Aye.
Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Bob Perla,
Aye.
Roger Trahan, aye. All right, Melissa, welcome. You're going to be doing a lot of writing. So that means then that I guess from this point forward in the meeting, unless you, for continuity's sake, we're in agreement that Daryl would take the minutes for the remainder of the meeting, or
For the remainder of the meeting, and if you recall, I can only stay today until
that's-
7:25,
that's
which I
right.
discussed with you previously.
Okay, yeah, I apologize. So you're okay with that, Daryl?
Yep.
All right. And what I'll do is I'll forward you for the ease of you amending things, I'll forward you the Word documents of both the agenda and my announcements, so you can just incorporate them.
Well, Roger, I just need your announcements because for some reason I was able to convert the agenda into a Word document. So I already have it rolling.
Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, all right, moving forward, public comments received. Okay, so public comments received. There was one comment that didn't come through our Disability Commission web email. It came to me directly at my Hotmail account, and it's from Colleen Roy, and it's from this Monday, July 13th at 9:46 p.m. That reads, "Good evening, Roger. I am contacting you as a resident of Grafton and not on behalf of any board or committee. I just heard you speak at the Recreation Commission meeting tonight, 7/13/20, discussing ADA self-evaluation plan in regards to updating our existing parks. I wanted to let you know about a program called Smile Mass. It's a resource for handicap accessibility for recreation areas based out of Sudbury. They have done a few playgrounds in the area focusing on universal design, which is more inclusive than ADA. The founder is Lottie Diomede, and she is a wealth of information. I was hoping the Disability Commission would be interested in reaching out to her to see if Smile Mass could collaborate on any of our upcoming park improvements." And she included the website and the email of Lottie Diomede. Thank you, Colleen Roy. Two things. Based on our prior discussions with Disability Commission, we had agreed that I'd be the point person for the Parks and Rec piece, so I took the liberty of dialing into the Rec Commission's meeting this past Monday, and then joined with some comments regarding back and forth regarding the disability accessibility plans that Jen Anderson will speak to in a future agenda item tonight. That's what led to Ms. Anderson agreeing to be on the agenda, not for us to just speak to it, but for her to speak to concrete plans for accessibility as per that agenda item. And I also had forwarded this to Ms. Anderson earlier today, so she could at least have, it seems that we may not be the only ones reaching out. May be Ms. Anderson. So Jen Anderson, are you there? Did you receive a copy of that?
Roger,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Roger.
Okay, Daryl.
I just want to make sure you send that to me so I can attach that to the minutes.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. And also attached to minutes, and this is just one of these technical matters. All the attachments to the agenda regarding the open meeting guidelines or during COVID is something that get attached to moving forward. But I think we've been doing pretty darn good compared to other committees as far as our documentation.
So Roger, do you want me to be monitoring the hand raising? Because I see Melissa Lackey has her hand raised right now too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, please. If you could, Daryl, that would be great. I wasn't seeing that. Melissa.
Because I have to leave and I did want to make I have a couple questions for Jen. Would it be okay if I, on item number 4, ask some follow-up questions of her regarding the last meeting we had that she attended?
I have no objection. We're on that agenda item anyway. Does anyone else have any comments on Colleen Roy's email?
No.
All right. Thank you, Colleen, for expressing interest in helping the community. We're all in this together. Thank you. So on 4, Grafton's ADA self-eval transition plan, which includes Rec Commission. I would, that certainly would encompass the scope of this discussion, Missy, for you to ask Jen some follow-up questions. So go ahead, please.
Well, first I want to thank her again. Jen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I want to thank you again for coming to the last meeting and being so so generous with your time. We had discussed at the last meeting a possibility of examining some of the service-related aspects of the rec commission. If you recall, we talked about Grafton celebrates the holidays and maybe making some amendments to the just making more visible some of the more accessible stops. Remember having that conversation last time?
I do. Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Can we just touch on that briefly? If there's, if there's something we can kind of, I feel like it's a long way away, but it's kind of a big ask. Some of the things we talked about the last time. So like maybe working together with some of the businesses to maybe set aside an hour where they can make a sensory friendly hour for Santa or some of those things, just reaching out. That's going to take time to do that. Have you given any thought to that since we've spoken, or I guess it's kind of an open-ended
my main
question.
thought that I've been trying to address, because there's, even though this is obviously a big consideration of the event in general, but this year, the stuff that we have to think about in regards to what's going on and what can happen, if anything, and at what point we need to decide that by. So, typically I reach out to businesses in August, September, with a deadline of October, and a fee that they have to pay, and so we have to look at, one, if an event like this is even possible in the summer. Many things have already been canceled in this atmosphere, and canceled very early because of the planning that would have to be involved for it, and to go through all that and then pull the plug at the last minute doesn't quite make sense for a lot of reasons. So I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to think what can happen at this event in general, if anything, and how we go about it. So, and before I start reaching out to businesses and they're obviously very overwhelmed with them just trying to figure out what they need to do now. So, I'm not quite at the point ready to reach out to them to think beyond that. So, in the next couple of weeks, really have to decide, what portion of this event, if any, can happen, and reach out to these businesses in general.
That's a very fair point. I would, however, disagree that it would be worth it to visit, to at least look at those subjects, because it might be an opportunity to, while there's time to address it, start planning for the next year. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I just need to step back. We're dealing with summer, and it feels like there's always something that's obviously taking precedent in front of us before the next thing to be dealt with. And so I just wanted to kind of step back, look at everything that's happening, see what I thought could actually happen, and then reach out to these businesses and bring all of it to the table together at once.
I think it would be helpful to be able to kind of reach out to the community, I don't know, via a survey or some kind of other avenue. I could certainly, in my other role in CPAC, speak to parents and, what would they like to see in terms of accessibility in that service domain, just to kind of maybe get you some more information about in the future what's going to be needed. Again, we all like to the point that you made, everything's pretty much closed right now and is very likely to be canceled. But while we have some time,
definitely. I'm just, like I said, I was trying to think about what we could offer in the environment we need to operate in now, thinking not much will probably change, because we'll be remaining in phase 3 for quite some time if we don't go back to a phase 2. So something like this may not even happen. So just thinking about first what could happen, but in general, like I said, but and then reaching out to these businesses with everything we're looking for, including this idea of what they could additionally offer, or again, maybe they will have a chance to step out of the box too. And so thinking I'd reach out to them by mid-August, and then we would have the next 6 weeks to determine if it's something we could do.
Do you think that it may be reasonable then for our meeting either as a workshop meeting or our regular meeting in September for you to have more clarity regarding, Jen, what this may look like if it is possibly going to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like you typically maybe meet at the end of the month. So if you do have one at the end of August, we should be in a, much further along point then.
Okay. Daryl
I like
Ryan
that
has her
idea.
hand up. Daryl, you need to unmute, and then Christy has a comment. So Daryl,
Okay, my comment was just this. First of all, thank you very much, Jen Anderson. And I definitely understand where you're coming from about it being really difficult to plan out right now, given the pandemic we're in. I was wondering if maybe this group or in a workshop should come up with maybe the questions that we think are important and then give them to Jen so that we're offering our assistance and help. And she doesn't, I mean, she can use them or she can edit them, but maybe it should be our job to do that.
No, I think that's very helpful. I think, especially just trying to narrow down, or pick a scope or pick a path that you're trying to accomplish. If you think it's sensory, if you think it's, again, if it's obviously a physical need, just kind of what you think, the focus, what we would be looking to ask these businesses, to do, what we're looking for.
Yep.
Maybe we should ask for community feedback.
And then could, Jen, this is Christy, and I work at a community college that we've switched all our activities to lots of different platforms, including like Twitch for esports and those sorts of things. I know you're probably also kind of encountering a brave new world and doing everything via technology. But I would hope, and maybe I can help you with this, we could think of ways that we could still celebrate the holidays via some of the large scale Zoom rooms, or even if we just have a holiday sing along for an hour and broadcast it from one of the churches or Apple Tree Arts, but still have a lot of different ways that we could capture some of the flavor of what we normally do during Grafton Celebrates the Holidays. I know Lucky will be disappointed he can't give out free slices of pizza, but we can still do lots of other things. So I hope it's not canceled. I just hope it's still like Grafton would rally around you and really help promote Grafton's spirit, but just in a different way.
Oh, exactly. I think that's the point exactly. It's just trying to, try to take away what we would normally do and repackage it, in what way we can do it.
And without getting into a huge discussion and straying too much from our agenda, I will add that a lot of the venues have focused on food and drink, which presents its problems or challenges regarding staying masked. It's possible. I'm just going to throw out the idea that maybe this could be almost like a winter holiday trick or treat, where people kind of just quickly pass through and pick up stuff, that may be holiday themed or craft themed, without people actually sitting there and consuming anything or being in close quarters, something where people could pass through and it would almost be like a scavenger hunt type theme that still allows people to somehow experience stopping in at these various venues.
Well, that's what I've been thinking, is trying to see even if they can't operate at their business, if they could do something else, which would be very weather dependent, but if they could do it in a park, if they could do it, in a parking lot, because, I know I hear from people from on the EDC, economic development, that, the businesses also look at this as an opportunity for them to do really well business wise. And so if we can't get, if we're not driving people in their stores and making their purchases either, those sorts of things to consider as well. So it's going to have to be some sort of hybrid version, as everything has become, I think, on this.
All right. Missy, does that address the questions you had regarding the, revisiting some of the prior discussion with Jen?
Yeah, I feel like all of those things are being considered, and I'm completely understanding, obviously everything is a completely different universe this year, hopefully not forever, but I like the idea that you had about having like a work group or something to kind of discuss some ideas that we had, and Daryl's idea, to kind of throw something together where we, what would we like to see? What are we hearing from people that they would like to see in terms of, not just the community events too, but programming and other things that might make it more likely that they will be able to participate and their family members able to participate. So just like if you're like an idea farm right now, like,
Okay.
can we add that to the agenda as a future item?
Yeah, sure. I'm
Let's
just
do that.
in a little bit of a panic as I'd forgotten to plug in the adapter to my laptop, and it was running low at like single digits. So sorry about that little glitch. But yeah, Missy, sure, that would be certainly appropriate and timely for a future agenda item. Were you thinking August, or were you thinking September?
I was thinking August because then like Halloween happens and I had some ideas that I'd like to share at that time for that. If again, not this year, in the future, for the way that we do things moving forward, and
Okay.
Christmas. And I think it would be good to be able to,
Okay.
it gives us time to reach out,
Okay. All right, great.
Even September would be, it would not be a bad time.
Okay. All right, then we're going to brainstorm together, not dump it on Jen to fix all of the holiday ills. Yeah, we'll have to all brainstorm as to how we can go about things, but a lot of it will be dependent on what phases we are in. I know the governor said that if we don't achieve certain goals, we could step back in a phase that could just sweep 2020 under the rug. I wish to be a little bit more optimistic. So we'll play it by ear, and I'll add it to the agenda for discussion.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks, Jen.
So Missy, are you still with us? What time were you departing, Missy?
So I need to leave at 7:25. So if you're going to move
Okay.
on to the next, then I'll just excuse myself now rather than hear 2 minutes of it. And,
Okay. Okay. And I would invite you to, when this is replayed, it's being recorded right now, to actually catch the video, after the fact.
Yeah, that was my plan.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. So
Thank
take care, Missy. So Jen Anderson, so continuing, the Grafton's ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, as I looked at it, and as we had previously discussed, Section 9, the recreational fields assessment, this follows the super park / community park having been voted in the negative at the recent town meeting, and this now becomes more in the forefront of the accessibility discussion as it relates to recreational facilities. So if you could, Jen, start out by just reminding us of what facilities are under your purview and which are not, as your understanding, and then your plan to address those areas which are currently, under your oversee.
Sure. So, so we would be looking at Perry Hill, Ferry Street, Airport Park, Riverview, and Norcross, and Silver Lake. Mill Villages Park is more under the Board of Select Board and the Parks Department. Brook Meadow is a lease situation. We don't own that property. And I'm trying to think what else was, the brush dump, obviously, and
Sidewalks and curbs and ramps,
sidewalks
and then
and curbs, right.
yeah.
So yeah, there's six of those locations that would be under this department. So, you know, I say the only good thing about the super park not passing is that, you know, we would now have the opportunity to go back to CPC to ask for funding to help us with this. So I've broken out. I started with ranking all of the things for all those parks, trying to go by the priority level and the feasibility. And then it was like, well, now we have this opportunity. We have seasonal payroll money, right? That's not being used, that got allocated to this project as well. So we have that to work with. And so looking at it, I lumped it together saying, okay, these are plumbing items, these are handyman items, these are licensed contractor items. This is the accessible route and playground surfacing package that we need to address. So I've been working on trying to find the people to address those categories and laying out the routes in the parks to go to the amenities that we are looking to go to create those routes and planning out the surfacing options. So we have about $100,000 in the seasonal payroll money that is now allocated towards this. In my quick numbers that I have, at least right now, I think we'd be maybe in like the 250 range for the accessible route and playground surfacing. So $250,000. So that's what I'd be planning to go ask for CPC. And so that would be a package to handle all of the 6 places, the routes and surfacing there. That would also then allow us to apply for that park grant again that the state has, and so that would be up to $100,000. And we would also be able to apply for the Mass Office of Disability. I'm trying to think of the MOD, whatever, accessibility grant for this as well. And I haven't seen any numbers. I haven't seen anything that relates to like what number of money we could qualify for. But you know, anything obviously they would do would be helpful, and then all that would reduce the amount that we would take from CPC if that got approved. So that's where we're at right now. We're just working on finalizing quotes on the routes and laying out, you know, making sure we're meeting that list there in the plan to get everything addressed.
So let me ask you this. Daryl first had her hand up. Daryl?
Jen, I just want to say you rock the free world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, for that update. Question I have for you, and this may involve Mr. Austin as the select board rep. All right, so on Mill Villages, okay, and then Nelson. So Mill Villages, there's a Mill Villages Advisory Committee, and then the Select Board, and then Nelson has a trust, and then Brook Meadow is a lease. So, and I'm not sure where that feedback is coming from. Mr. Perla, I think if I could just interrupt myself. I'm seeing you twice, and you're once on video and audio. Let me just mute the non-video. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm going to ask Mr. Offen for his technical assistance again. So I'm seeing Bob twice, once on video with the audio muted, and once with the blacked out screen with his name on it with just the mute. And I think that's the feedback we're receiving.
So, yeah, I don't know. Looks like if you can unmute his video and then mute the words, like his name, is that possible?
No, No, I'm not seeing that.
I think Christie's unmuted too, so I don't know if that's where you think, maybe the feedback's coming from, but
Sorry, the ferry buses keep going back and forth between a ferry just came in, so they're going up to the parking lots in Falmouth. Sorry.
Okay. So it's possibly not Mr. Perlis. All right. So we'll just play it by ear. So Mr. Rofton, I guess not expecting that you have an answer this evening, it would be beneficial to clarify who really oversees the other areas that Ms. Anderson has indicated would be excluded from her CPC request.
Sure.
And I wouldn't want to see these overlooked as part of this process. Mill Villages only had like $1,700 worth of improvements. They were very minor, so that's not a big issue. But Nelson,
yeah, speaking to Daryl from the Parks Department, he felt very confident that could be handled internally. So,
oh, okay, good. All right, thank you. And then Nelson is under the trust, but I know that the town has in prior years really fed that money, which had at one point allegedly dried up. But then this recent town meeting, I guess it has money again. So I'm not sure where that money came from and whether it is that trust is self-sufficient and would be considered sort of separate from rec, because it seems like there is about $80,000 worth of improvements that probably equal a lot of the other parks. So I would want to, and maybe this involves Ginny Kramer, town council, as to the legal standing of the trust. I wouldn't want us to ignore Nelson Park, which has heavy use. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there, various activities and athletics and people just using the playground. So I wouldn't want that to somehow be ignored in all of this, because it is a pretty favored park space.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm happy to chase down the Nelson Park one. Jen, who did you speak with in Parks about Mill Villages?
well, Daryl, he's the park superintendent.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then, so as far as, so you had mentioned Riverview, Jen?
Yep.
Okay, so if I could just say that Riverview certainly has its issues. If you could remind me, Jen, whether or not those improvements include the approach when you're coming down that main driveway from Riverview, and then there's all these unpainted speed bumps that you kind of damage your car over. And then you're approaching where you're facing the water, and it's a minefield. The road's is like the worst dirt road you could possibly drive on. And then you take a sharp right, and you're now headed toward the playground, and it's equally bad. So those improvements, I guess, would that be considered rec or not? And if it isn't, that seems to be a preliminary approach that precedes any other approach to those activity spaces. I don't know if you'd consider that like a DPW project, or is Riverview, at what point is that private versus public land? I don't know where
I think that's part of his understanding where that transition is. I mean, I know that periodically parks and DPW do go in. I just spoke to the assistant town engineer yesterday, and he said he just put down reclaimed asphalt in there. So I was curious to see what that looked like in there.
Right.
So I know they periodically deal with it. I just looking, because I'm so literal sometimes, looking at that transition plan and saying, okay, we need to get poured handicap spaces in there,
Right.
and dealing with the poured parking, but not, nothing else was part of that plan. So I wasn't looking to go, bigger, but we should, it's not the greatest, obviously set up down there.
Right.
So ask some questions.
And one of the things too is that, and this may be a future item, aside from remediating the deficiencies that are outlined in the transition plan, yeah, it actually, I see that as three different areas. There's the approach, and then you take a sharp right, and now you're headed toward the play space. And then at the end of the fence line, you're then taking a sharp left, and it's the length of the field back to another water area. And so the whole, from the approach all the way to the end, all three areas are like a minefield. And so I'm hoping that whatever DPW was considering address the entire length of each of those, the approach to sharp right and then the sharp length. It's a few hundred feet. That
Yeah, and
needs to be addressed.
I think that in the back of my mind, it's really, because my next project that I would have presented to CBC if it wasn't for this first would be some more official and ADA accessible canoe launches.
Right.
And speaking into some people, what that would entail, that it would mean a more obviously bigger parking in landscaped, area. So
Right.
thinking that sort of thing would be addressed in a project like that.
Right. And that's what I thought. I know that, I don't know if it was Northbridge or Uxbridge, but there's various communities recently that have had accessible launches from various boat areas and canoe areas. And I see an opportunity, and this wouldn't fall under you, but we appropriated 6 figures plus to the Lions Club phase 2 at town meeting regarding their paving of their entire length, and then the parking lot and area. I don't know how close the paved area that is being paid with those CPC funds that was approved in the spring town meeting approaches those launches, but that certainly is, I think, an opportunity for one area of Lake Ripple to have an accessible area, even though it's not under the town. The town uses it, and it's open to the public. So I would certainly
I'm sorry,
add that.
which area? Where'd you say, where, Lake Ripple?
No, Lions Club on
Oh,
Brigham Hill.
oh, yeah.
What they call the beach. And so, I don't know how weedy it gets in these areas, but I think it's an area of opportunity that we could have a discussion for a different day, because it technically is beyond the scope of the parks that we're discussing here regarding the ADA self-eval. So what is the dollar amount for the ask at CPC, and what is the deadline for you to present it to the committee?
Well, the application has to be in by their meeting next Thursday, 23rd. Obviously, it needs to be in probably by that Monday, so the members can view it, can get posted, is what Joanne is asking. So I'm not going to have a number yet, but I'm going to be describing what the plan would be entailing, what we're looking to do, how we're approaching it, and the estimated number at this point. But I have no hard. I mean, I have some kind of hard numbers, but I'm not confident enough to put it on the application. Okay. But that will follow.
All right. Thank you, Jen. So all you need to do is provide an estimate, and then give them hard numbers when you get some quotes in.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like how we with Super Park. We got the application in and kind of hold the spot, but supplied the number a little bit later. So I would anticipate by August that I would have that, by their August meeting, I would have that number them to view.
Does that include bonding, CPC bonding, or is it?
I wouldn't think so. I'm looking at the fact that they were going to be able to give $250,000 in their FY20, I guess, budgeted reserve towards the Super Park, and nothing else is coming in front of them. So that would still be available, and I think that's within the scope that I'm currently in for this project.
All right, thank you. Daryl Ryan, and you were raising your hand. You need to unmute.
I was just going to try to move us along a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it can be a ball hog, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. that good joking relationship that Daryl and I have, but she puts my feet to the fire. All right. Do you want to simply give us an update at our August meeting?
Yeah, I can definitely.
Either an email, or I don't want to necessarily take up more of your evening
Yeah.
time, but if it could be in the form of, sending me or
Yeah, I mean, it's a progress.
I missed that last thing you said due to feedback.
What
I'm
I can
sorry.
share with where we're at.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions for Jen Anderson?
Nope.
All right. All right. And well, I do have one more question, and I'll try to make this real quick. Under the following agenda item 5, I just put as a placeholder the draft open space and rec plan. I'm assuming, Jen Anderson, that the appendix F, referring to the ADA self-eval, the grievance procedures and employment policies and such, wasn't anything separate than what currently existed. And it isn't actually an appendix as it is a reference.
Yeah, so you're saying what needs to be included or what was included in the plan?
It was, in other words, it was referred to as Appendix F, but it looks like it's only reference F, and it incorporates the ADA self-eval that we're talking about here, and the various things such as employment policies, grievance procedures, and such, and that it isn't something separate that we're looking for. It's simply a reference point and not a separate appendix.
I would have to look into that further because that hasn't
Okay.
probably been my full involvement in it, but
It just came out. And
it's been accepted by the state in its draft form with a few things that we have to still submit, and that wasn't on the list. So I'm assuming that's approved and covered.
All right. Thanks, Jen, for coming in.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Jen.
All right. And so on item 4, I simply want to pipe in that Bob Perla and I need to get together and follow up with Tim and Becca. After the last meeting that we had, it was Tim needed to look into, Bob Perla had offered his services regarding going through the website and requesting administrative access, kind of do a test on accessibility. And Tim actually kind of put the brakes on that and said, let's work with our service provider, who takes care of our web site. Is that your understanding, Bob? Yeah, you need to unmute.
I haven't heard anything from Tim or anyone else except for the conversation that you and I had. And I know that the federal government is cracking down on government websites that are not accessible. And I hate for us to be one of the ones that get penalized. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just very time consuming. And I was on there just before the meeting tonight, double checking it to see, if anything had changed since you and I last spoke. And it still is not accessible. And
what website did you use to do the test run on that?
I just went through it myself and just used my own experience and knowledge of what should be accessible and how it would work. I do have some programs that are my own personal ones that I can run, and it will go through and give me a report. But unless you know how to read the report, it's kind of useless.
Okay.
But basically what it is any images or photographs or documents on the website have to have a link that describe what it is. For example, if you go to the home page and you roll over the town logo, when you roll over it with your mouse, there should be a little pop-up that comes up that says town logo, and it gives a description of what it looks like. The reason that you want to do that is so that people who are handicapped use screen readers. And so if the site is not accessible, their screen readers won't be able to use the site. So it becomes useless to them. They won't be able to access documents. They won't be able to access any audios or videos that might be on the site. They won't be able to download any documents that they might need, because I know the website has documents on there, forms. They won't be able to access them because their screen reader won't be able to detect them. And so as far as they're concerned, there is nothing there for them to access. And, you know, I worked for the Department of Defense for over 25 years developing handicap accessible websites. So, you know, I know what to look for. I know how to fix it. It's like I said, it's not hard, it's just time consuming, but I do have to have administrative access to the site. Now, if I can understand they might not want to give me that, but I can go through the site and generate a report and submit it to whoever oversees the site, making recommendations. Whether or not they'll accept it and do that, you know, that's out of my control.
Right.
But
And I'm wondering, rather than giving you a blank check, how do you and the rest of the commission feel about Bob presenting that report to us in advance as an agenda item in August, for him to then proceed in, you know, presenting this to the town administrator?
I have a question.
Daryl first, and then Christie.
All right. I would think that he should probably reach out again to Tim, because I don't think that we should just run a report and on our own. So I think first and foremost, we owe the courtesy to run it, to contact him again and offer him what you can do for him. And if he says he's going to have a service do it, then we need to ask, you know, or maybe Matt can help us here, follow up on a follow-up date. Like, when's that going to be done by? Because if that website's been inaccessible all of this time to people who are relying on the website for information because, you know, of the pandemic, that is not good. That seems to me like a very important thing to fix quickly.
Okay. So, Bob, do you want to, Christie, please?
So I need to let everyone know that one day, I believe in April, Tim sent me a quick email and asked for the website that I gave him initially, him and Rebecca.
Yep.
For the web accessibility checker, and it's called WAVE, W-A-V-E. And I'm sure Bob already knows about it. It's everyone kind of uses it who's not as technical as Bob. So Tim asked me for it. I replied back real quick because I was in the middle of something. So I think he might have done it, Bob. So you can also reach out and ask him if he did run the Grafton Town websites through the WAVE checker. And the WAVE checker's free. I think it's from Arizona, University of Arizona, but it's WCAG 3 approved. The other thing I was going to tell you is that years ago, probably 4 years ago, when the government was on shutdown because the budgets couldn't be approved on the federal level, a lot of people were working home back then. And because they didn't have anything to do, they did go after a lot of websites for accessibility issues. And we're kind of in that situation again, but this time everyone wants more accessibility. And I think in some ways, we're smart to up our game. I think that if anyone were to go after anybody, they'll be going after state governments as well as private companies, because the town government, we don't have the money to really settle for anything. But if anyone were looking for money, but in a lawsuit.
unless they want notoriety, which is a different reason. You know, you never know why. But I'm just trying to think about how, you know, we don't want to. We want to be fair with people to understand that compliance is a mandated right. It's a federal right to have access. I just don't want us to always do things and say you'll get sued, you know, because that gets really tiresome as a motivator. So just a little thing to think about. That's it.
All right. So we in agreement then that Bob will follow up with Tim?
Matt has his hand raised.
Oh, Matt, yes, I turned my head for a second. Yeah, Matt.
No worries. Thank you. If it's okay with the commission, I'm going to be kind of connecting with Tim anyways to talk about Nelson Park and that whole trust. And I'm happy to, you know, include in that communication a question about whether WAVE was run and if there's any follow-on actions, and kind of connect our service provider hopefully up with Bob. I'm not sure as a IT professional myself if I would be so ready to give administrative rights to a commission member necessarily. But that doesn't mean that we can't have some type of either delegation of certain rights to be able to update things, or I don't know what's possible. So let me just ask the question about, you know, what's happened so far and see what is possible.
You okay with that, Bob, and everyone? I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. The only thing that I'd like to elaborate on a little bit is the WAVE program that was mentioned. It's not the best tool to run to detect what is accessible and what isn't. It does an adequate job, but it misses a lot as well. That's why you really need some of the other high-end programs, but you know, money-wise, they're very expensive. So I could understand how the town wouldn't want to spend that kind of money. I wouldn't want to spend that kind of money. But the WAVE is better than not running anything. At least it's a starting point, and it would get us to the next level. Now, there are different levels of accessibility. And for our site, I think that level 1 would be sufficient for now. You know, there are actually 3 levels, but we don't need to go the other 2 levels, in my opinion. If we were just a level 1, I think that, you know, probably 90% of the people that are handicapped would be able to have access to it.
All right. Thank you, Bob. So Matt, you'll follow up on the WAVE and Nelson Park with Tim, and then report back in August. Daryl, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was, Christy, I was wondering if now under this topic is a good place for us to just remind people that the 2 of us met with Tim and Becca. All life shut down, and we did that with the permission of the commission.
Right.
And our purpose was to figure out how to get our information out to all the different departments, how to make sure everybody is aware of this report and what their obligations are. So, and when we were meeting with Tim and Becca, then that's when Christy showed him some easy accessible website accessible tools. But he wanted us as a commission to simplify and break down the report per department, which I think I took notes on that on the last meeting, each different department, because the report is very overwhelming, and we have not done that yet for them. So I didn't know. And then during the shutdown, Tim did reach back out to me, which he also was asking for your email, Christy, trying to reset a date for Chris, because Christy and I had set a date to go talk to the department heads about this report. And obviously it didn't happen because we got shut down. So he hasn't reached back out. I replied to him and said, no problem. And also, Christy and I hadn't been able to report any of this back because we didn't have any meetings. So,
And I would add, Christy and Daryl, that the sort of the game of ping pong, or the circular nature of the conversation comes back to, and we've acknowledged it tonight and other meetings, of what Jen Anderson oversees and what Jen doesn't oversee. I think the Center for Living and Working, I don't know who they interviewed or whether they used the website to assume and identify that certain people were the go-to people for these items, and not all of them were. At least the Jen, she's identifying DPW as some of the overseer or select board versus recreation, and so
yep.
So I don't think that we can entirely, without Tim and Becca really confirming it, we can take a stab at who's in charge of things, but that's really a town administrator, select board office type of clarifier. I don't think we can accurately guess who's necessarily in charge of things.
Yeah, and I think that part of our mission meeting with Tim and the department heads where we were going to be able to figure that out. Anyway.
And I think that the other thing that we're coming to the realization is that there's a lot of gaps in who covers what, and that there's no real plan or thought. So in some ways, we're trying to, I don't want to say insert ourselves, but just raise awareness to how we can get this done. This isn't that hard. We can make things much more accessible, and we're going to reap so many benefits. We just have to really communicate with others, and it's really coming down, Roger, I would say, to communication. It's not hard to be an accommodating entity, whether you're in one department or another. It's sometimes people just need the tools for doing it, and we're happy to help with those tools. So as long as, like Daryl, I think, and I were both really slammed once we went remote until the end of June. And then right now it's quiet for me, but August we start with orientation and all that stuff. So, Daryl, maybe at the beginning of August, before you quote, go back, the last week of August, maybe we can try to slip in and see Tim if he's not on vacation. I know this is kind of vacation time, so.
I mean, we probably could do that, Christy. I am on the reopening committee in my district, so it is busy.
I know what that means. I am so sorry, because I'm meeting with people who are on the state, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I am so sorry, Daryl. I'm so sorry. I know the work and what you have to know and the specifics. I feel like I'm an engineer for cleaning products.
So let me ask you this, and splitting this into two separate tasks, and not duplicating what Mr. Often will be doing, which will be following up on the website and Nelson Park, and that's an earlier and separate activity from you, Daryl, and you, Christy, from following up with Tim, which is probably a month from now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then what I will do, Matt, if you're okay with it, is just, Daryl.
Sorry. And the other piece that we addressed, and actually we're going to have to get on the agenda of the select board, is clarifying our charge. And that was a biggie. Clarifying our charge, because as written right now, it's
antiquated. It's antiquated, and the language is very embarrassing.
Yeah.
I would really like to get more in line with what the state uses now for language, and just change a little bit for Grafton. Thanks, Daryl, for remembering that.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll type in that I had been in touch, and I've had prior discussions with Jeff Dugan, who's the Assistant Director of Community Services at the Mass Office on Disability. And he had indicated that the broad scope that is described and articulated by the most recent charge back in August of 29, the expanded charge, is par for the course. And I respectfully disagree with the fact that a committee versus a full-time department or department head or full-time staff could reasonably tackle being the coordinator of referrals and services to everyone in town. That's more of a staff role versus a commission role. So, Matt, I will just point you to the Disability Commission web page, whereby front and center the charge of the commission is a very expansive one that has us doing, there's almost nothing that we wouldn't be involved in. And we even had some discussion of where the line was drawn regarding schools versus municipal, both in services and in facilities. So
Yeah.
there's a big chunk to clarify as to what we can feasibly do, and where that is, where that line of demarcation is with municipal and schools. So,
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair,
yes, Mr. Hoffman.
if I may, would it make sense for this commission to look through and create a draft charge to bring to the select board? I don't think it's going to be particularly effective if we go to the select board and say, hey, clarify our charge. It would be much better if we just came with a draft charge and said, this is what we think is appropriate.
Right.
And, give it to the select board to tweak if they so choose.
That's a great idea, Mr. Hoffman. I will add that when the charge was originally put forth, and there's a history there that before that big gap in activity, the 2009 report of the Disability Commission outlined the charge as it stood back then, and the expansion of the scope of duties. I'm not sure where that came from. It was a very expansive, typed out charge, and I don't know who obtained that and from where. It seemed to have come out of the blue that we went from a one scope and then became a greatly expanded scope. And I can't reasonably expect that someone just, created that of their own accord. It had to have come from someone, and I don't know where that was from. And at the time, I guess our bad, we really didn't question it until we really started looking at the wording and saying, wait a minute, this is way beyond what could reasonably be expected of a committee. So, Mr. Hoffman, that is a good suggestion to make an updated draft charge. Ms. Reining.
And I would be happy to draft one.
Okay. Everyone on board with Daryl taking on that task of coming up with an amended draft?
I second it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could look at some of the other towns that are similar to Grafton in nature and just copy theirs.
yeah, I
Okay.
have been cruising those.
Right
So,
on.
Okay. So I'll just say that that's by unanimous consent without a vote. We can just agree that Daryl will do that and come back to us in the near future. I wouldn't necessarily expect that it would be, next month, but I would say that perhaps time permitting in each of our schedules, maybe a workshop meeting on our charge and board development, commission development could be taken up in the near future without really expanding the length of a regular meeting. But that's just my thoughts. All right. Yes, Ms. Reining.
I mean, if I draft a charge, obviously you guys will all get it in your packet because you'll send it out, Roger, and then it is worthy of discussion at a meeting.
Right.
And
At a regular meeting?
yeah,
All right.
absolutely. And
Okay.
I think a workshop, I mean, I still think we need to come up with some kind of format to break down this report and hand it to different departments. So, you know, and also it sounded like from Melissa, maybe a workshop is a good place to develop questions to give to Jen Anderson that she could give to businesses.
Okay. Okay. And as far as, all right. All right, so we have some work ahead of us. Are we okay with moving on from the discussion
Yep.
of the Grafton ADA self-eval?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then item 5 was just a placeholder to, if it came up, and we've already addressed that the draft open space and rec plan that was recently approved at the state level, the reference to the ADA self-eval and other items were simply the things that are already in existence and aren't their own appendix. But at some point, there are things that may come up on that regarding accessibility in other areas that we'll tackle at that time. But that opens up, having that plan in place opens up funds that were not available because the 2007 plan had already expired. Okay, item 6 then, meeting minutes of 2/27 of 20. I actually just sent these out this morning.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Daryl.
So I sent them on our Disability Commission email address. Did anybody get them? No? So Matt, maybe
I
you're not
did.
on it yet?
I don't
Okay.
think I got those.
Okay.
Did I?
Was it the Google Doc invitation to edit?
Is it? Does it say invitation to edit? Well,
Yeah, it
It
does.
does. It does. It does say
Yeah.
invitation to edit. So I kind of took the liberty to almost. I almost got to the point where I made some edits that are things that we'll discuss tonight
yeah.
after a motion is made. So I thought initially that came to me and only me because I can't tell, being the recipient.
I
unless
did
you-
send it to you personally and to
Oh.
Christy.
Oh.
I
But I
received
also
it
sent it-
twice.
I also sent it out to the whole commission and just wanted to make sure that everybody's on that email and got it.
Okay.
Yeah. I received it. Yeah.
I
Bob did
received
not?
it.
All right, so Matt and Bob need to go on.
I had asked Ms. Reining, I had asked Joanne Duncan, I believe. I don't think it was Cindy. I'd asked Joanne to remove Donna Stock's name from the distribution list and add Mr. Austin's name, his town email address to the distribution list for the Disability Commission at grafton-ma.gov.
All right, but Bob Perla didn't get them either, so.
Okay. All right. And what was interesting, Bob, is I've been sending things
I
to
lied.
you.
I got them.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, good.
So,
I got
Bob.
two. Yep, I did.
Okay.
Okay, so Bob, you did not get it. I will contact Joanne Duncan to see that you're added.
His email address is on there, the bjperla@gmail.
Oh, okay. Did you check your spam or your junk folders, Bob? You're on mute. You need to unmute.
I did not, but when you send me emails, I get them with no problem, but
Okay.
I will go in and check the spam folder.
All right.
All right, so I pulled those meeting minutes up, so go.
Okay,
Tell me
all
the
right.
changes.
So, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 27th, 2020?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Offen. Do I have a second?
Well, second, but we have discussion, right? There's
Yes,
change.
absolutely. So, Daryl, did you second?
Second, yep.
All right, motion made by Mr. Hoffman to approve and by Ms. Ryan, second. Yeah, I had a few areas. Does anyone else want to pipe in? I don't want to, hog the mic. I had a few areas to speak of. Does anyone want to go before me?
Well, the most notable one is the one that Daryl is fixing right now. So it was the date, said October
Yeah.
17th. So
Yeah, you're working from a template, I assume.
Yep,
Yeah.
template.
All right. So February 27th, not October 17th, 2019. Anyone else have any comments on the changes?
Just go, Roger.
All right, room G, not room A.
Where is that? Oh, gee. Okay.
Room G. I think somewhere needs to be disability on the Disability Commission regular meeting. I think that's something that's outlined distinct from like workshop meetings. So we have February 27th regular meeting.
What do you mean?
It's a regular meeting, a non-workshop meeting. I've read somewhere in the open meeting stuff that it's something that is either a rule or a best practice that it's not a workshop meeting. I don't see what the distinction is. Seems like a distinction without a difference, but in the same way that we post the minutes saying regular meeting versus workshop meeting, it's been recommended, I forget where I saw it, that the minutes reflect that as well. So
Okay.
yeah,
Go.
and then the only other two things, all right, videotaped and accessible for viewing. There's
Yeah.
there's a hyperlink that even if it were correct and this one is not, I'm not locating any link to that meeting at or around that on or around that time. While there may be a link, GCTV went all to public service announcements on coronavirus. And so not only am I not aware of the link, but sometimes these hyperlinks get disabled for some reason
Yeah.
in the
Well-
future. So I would simply recommend that comment say videotaped and accessible for viewing by GCTV Grafton, and then leave it at that. If people want to look further, they can somehow find it.
Okay.
Yeah, and but my reading of the minutes, I see them as a good summary and what minutes should look like, and I see them as accurate. I don't see any inaccuracies there. So does anyone else have any comments on the content of the draft minutes of February 27th? Christy?
Miss Brining, if I
Yeah.
could just point out that the Disability Commission meeting minutes are dated October 17th, 2019.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can see.
Yeah, we had made note of that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No
No,
problem.
that's okay. No, that was an important piece. All right, so motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as amended. Any further discussion on the motion to approve the minutes as amended, the drafted minutes as amended? Hearing none by roll call. Mr. Perla, were you looking to speak on that? You're muted.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, yeah, please.
I noticed on the membership absent, it
Yeah.
has me listed as absent.
Yeah.
Wondering why. I haven't missed any of the meetings.
I don't know. So
That was a surprise to me.
I had it written in my notes that you were absent, so I must have made a mistake. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I was just curious, that's all.
Well, I'll put you here.
Okay.
And you know what? Thank you, Mr. Perla, because I wasn't so sure about, looking back. Was that your first meeting?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Oh, Bob, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, all right.
I didn't know if you were
apologize.
trying to tell me something.
No.
No. So no, sorry about that, Bob.
That's all right.
For my oversight as well. No, we want you to stick around, man.
All right.
All right. All right. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, by roll call, Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor, unmute, Christy.
I apologize. Aye.
Okay. Matt Offen.
He can't vote.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he'll do I take that as an abstain, Mr. Offen?
Yep.
Okay. Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Bob Perla,
Aye.
Roger Trahan, aye by a vote of 5-0 and one abstention. I declare the motion carried to approve the draft minutes as amended. Okay, and I guess we'll table the May 21st, 2020 minutes.
Yep. And can I just say, I did find mine, so I will.
Thank you, Jesus.
I have, the other half that Christy didn't take, but I did not write down who was there that night. So does anybody have that in their notes?
Okay, I was there.
I know you were there. I was
You
there.
know what, Daryl? Daryl, look at the very end of the meeting notes where we took the to adjourn. And I think I have everybody listed there who voted to adjourn, I think.
What's
And
it?
I know we did have visitors, and since it was a Zoom call, do we write down the names of the public people? I mean, not public, people who just kind of came in and dropped in? Because I know, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, but that was the meeting where we had both Bob Berger and Jen visiting.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, everybody was there. Donna had to jump out. You had to jump out, but everyone.
Do we remember what time Donna jumped out?
I think you noted that.
Yeah, you noted it, and I noted it too. I just don't have my note in front of me. But
Okay.
she jumped out. She jumped out a few minutes before you, I believe, at 8:05.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, anyway, I'll type them up and
And do we have did you know when Missy Lackey left tonight?
7:25.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, so we'll table that to our next meeting. Old business, COVID-19 contact tracing online training via Johns Hopkins, Catherine Dorr and Roger Trahan. I had brought this up at our last meeting as a sort of kind of on the periphery, somewhat quasi-related to, keeping people from being disabled by keeping them from contacting COVID. So this probably really doesn't need to be in there, but it was a follow-up to the last meeting. Catherine, what is the status of this 6-hour free training?
I think I'm maybe half an hour in.
Okay.
I kind of forgot about it. So
yeah, same here, and it crept up on me. You're like 27 minutes ahead of me. I ended up logging on and creating a username and ID and reading the syllabus. So I'm like 5 minutes in, and I wanted to tackle it in 2 pieces, 3 hours and 3 hours. It is a 6-hour class, and I think it would be good to at least have some people, in the community, and it can't hurt to have some of us on board with, protecting those populations that are more vulnerable. So,
yeah.
So I'll be doing that before next meeting. Any other old business? Mr. Perla?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I thought you would raise your hand. Okay, so new business section number 8. I put this trainings and services workshop meetings. We've already talked about, having workshop meetings in the future. I think that's a given. It's just a placeholder as a reminder of that a lot can be accomplished. I wanted to call attention to the fact that I had gone onto the Mass Office on Disability web site, different sections of it. And I had been approached by our MRC Medical Reserve Corps Coordinator, Marianne DeVries, with her inquiry as to what I may recommend regarding trainings for MRC, okay? And that can extend to, community emergency response, CERT, Board of Health, emergency workers, first responders. I did reach out to Jeff Dugan, Assistant Director of Community Services at the Mass Office on Disability, initially to at least query him regarding what MRC trainings there were regarding disability. And you may recall that I'm an MRC volunteer, so the commission I volunteered to wear that hat on behalf of the commission. And I have a meeting, a phone call scheduled to speak with him regarding what trainings are available for starters regarding MRC to address disabled populations, but in a more broad scope, what trainings are available to us as a committee or the greater community regarding first responders and such, while also he also is available for board development regarding disability commissions throughout the state of Massachusetts. And so without objection of the committee, I would like to expand that conversation next Thursday to what may be available across the board throughout the community. I'm of the impression that not a whole lot of people are reaching out to him and others at the state level regarding trainings. And I think that now that we're into the COVID environment regarding Zoom meetings, I'm sure that folks are starting to get used to in-services and trainings via Zoom. So without objection of the commission, is everyone okay with me expanding that conversation next Thursday to include what may be available out there and then report back to us next month? Is everyone okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Anyone have any questions on that?
No.
All right, cool. And then section B, 8B, working with other boards and committees and departments. We've already touched on that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
I'm just wondering, I've started to get a little bit involved in the land trust. Has anybody been in discussions with them about?
No.
No? Okay. If it's all right with the commission, I'll just out with them regularly on just site walks and whatnot. Have some discussions to see if this is on their radar at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I've been kind of searching online and found some very creative folks regarding having modified fields and trails and things like that to have accessible paths, whether it's wood or crushed stone and things like that. That'd be great if you could do that, Matt.
Sure.
And
just one other thing, I had a related question around, does the Mass Disability Commission, do they have seminars, conferences? Like, how do you kind of plug in with what's happening at the state and, connect up, start networking with some of the other commissions?
That's a good question. I'm not aware, and I can ask Mr. Dugan this, I'm not aware of any formal sort of association of disability commissions. It seems like it's kind of loosely organized. If you look at the map of cities and towns that have a disability commission, it's less than half. There's 351 cities and towns. I think 150 or 160 have a disability commission. And of those, I've randomly looked at a lot of their web pages. A lot of them haven't met in a while. I think my observation is what we have tackled in the past 8 months, 9, 10 months, is probably more than a lot of commissions have tackled in a few years, or they're just not documenting it. I think I'm seeing that. It's my observation that we're a lot more active, being a relatively newly revived commission, than a lot of commissions throughout the state. And so, to answer your question, I think everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and I'll certainly clarify that with Mr. Dugan. Christy, are you swatting flies, or are you raising your hand?
Yes.
No, I've got the mosquitoes are coming out.
Okay.
So I'm at the public library underneath the sails of the sailboat to use their Wi-Fi. So it's definitely accessible here, except for the mosquitoes.
Right. All right.
Matt, to answer your question though, the people who really are great with doing the workshops is the Northeast ADA Center. The federal government has funded centers across the country, like the Great Lakes region, all those states out there. There's a lot of different ones, but they're located in Portland, and they have ongoing workshops all the time. And I think that that's where I would suggest we use some of their resources for the for possible training, free training for some of our employees. So, and I'm sorry, there goes another mosquito.
I'm sorry. I'll try to move this right along to Mr. Offens. Oh, Ms. Ryan.
Yeah, and that just made me remember too that I forgot that Melissa Lackey and I were also supposed to reach out to Jay. Speaking of trainings and disability trainings, I'm not sure what they also would offer, because I do know, like my special ed department in Shrewsbury offers trainings to police and other entities on disability awareness, bus drivers, etc. So
Okay.
we bumped into Jay in the hallway at Municipal Center right before we all shut down, and I am not gonna even remotely bother him until things settle down a little bit.
What's going on? I heard they had all the time in the world, and that's, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 2 hours on just the school opening. Yeah.
Not doing it. So
no.
I will revisit that.
Okay.
Melissa and I will revisit that with Jay touching base, but we just haven't. I'm not doing it yet.
All right. And Mr. Hoffman, to your point, what I also did to Mr. Dugan regarding an email to him to sort of get him up to speed in advance of that conversation I'll have with him next week, is I sent him an email. For starters, when we first met as a revived committee on 9/19 of 19, I sent him the link to the documents to our agenda, our minutes, and then the TV link for him to peruse and provide feedback as to whether this is, what his thoughts were, including whether this was what other commissions throughout the state were doing. And to sort of gauge, to get the pulse of his understanding of where other communities are at and where we are and where we may seem to need to get up to speed. So I just figured I'd send that to him. My sense is that while we have a long way to go regarding the things we need to tackle and commission development, I think we're doing a lot more in a very short period of time than a lot of communities have done for years, if at all. So I'll report back to the commission, the outcome of that conversation, and see what we can do as far as coordinating with other disability commissions and also get as many avenues of training available to us.
Sounds good.
So, all right, thanks. So any other board, commission, department, and any other new business? All right, next meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Oh.
I was just wondering, one last thing.
Sure, Mr. Hoffman.
We've had a lot of outdoor services kind of open up. I'm thinking about restaurants. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to, for the commission to sort of convey either, I guess it would be through the Board of Health or the town maybe, to get those businesses thinking about accessibility of those new services essentially. So it just kind of occurred to me that as things are opening up, one of the first most visible things are these outdoor venues that are opening up, and there's not a whole lot that you can do in town. So I don't know. It just occurred to me that should we be asking the town to, I don't know, just provide some guidance to those businesses to think about accessibility of those new, because these are new facilities, you know, for all intents and purposes.
It's a new space. Okay.
May I
So,
jump in there?
sure, Mr. Perla.
When I was on the Historic District Commission, we had a similar situation. And what we found out was that the best way to go was to the town inspector, Bob.
Bob Berger.
Yep.
Yeah. But he, for some reason, was kind of reluctant to do that. So I don't know if we need to reach out to him again, or whether it's some other department within the town, because I agree, it's something that we need to make them aware of when they're first starting out in business, so that they can work that into their planning as well.
Ms. Ryman, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, my comments back to Matt. So maybe if you're meeting with Tim, you can put that question, you know, you can pose that question to him. You know, is Bob Berger the person we should talk to about that? And anyway, the other thing Christy and I want to talk to Tim about too is, I guess, being kind of concerned that Bob Berger and the scope of his job can actually be the ADA compliance officer effectively.
Right. And we had discussed, it wasn't any affront to Bob.
No.
It was the fact that it's more, his is more on the physical barriers, mass architectural access board
Yep.
stuff. And that he deferred a lot of the other complaints regarding employment and other things to HR, which is Tim and Becca. And that so it's an interesting thing where we really don't have a role called disability coordinator in the full scope of the way we would expect someone to have expertise.
Or that it's written. I mean, the description that's written in the report is pretty intensive. So, and the responsibilities are kind of big. So I was like, whoa. But anyway, that's not for you, Matt, but maybe you could ask him about the accessibility of the new outdoor venues and if Bob Berger's been attending to that.
Yeah, I can definitely ask him about that. I'm wondering about the that role, if it makes sense to discuss devolving that a little bit so that Bob has a piece of it, but we designate other people in town to have other components of it.
I don't know. I mean, I think that could definitely be a workshop to look at that report and see what it says and then meet with Tim and talk to him about it. It's not going to be up to, we can only make recommendations to
Yeah,
him,
of course.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, Christy, you had a question?
Really quick. So Matt, the Board of Health and reopening will still ensure that accessibility is granted. That's a requirement. That would preclude whether they're in the parking lot or if you notice, in some ways, everything is very mobility accessible. There's no steps up. It's much better now in terms of that. I don't know about spacing and seating and accessible seating, but for the most part, everything still has to be maintained as a level of regulations, whether your venue is inside or outside. So that should still be the same. So I don't know if there's as many accessibility needs. Just thinking about that. And then secondly, I just want to say that when I was at SUNY New Paltz, I took over for someone who was working my position part-time. And the AVP said, I don't know what you're going to do with all your time, because they made me full-time. Within 6 months, they said, we needed you 10 years ago. We didn't realize what we weren't doing until you started doing it. And I think that's the case for Grafton. And I wouldn't want to see it, not to go against your model there, Matt, but I would hate to see it divvied up to a lot of people, because I think you still need one point person to lead the charge, lead the ship, and coordinate all the efforts across all the departments. And divvying it up, I don't know if it would get done. So,
Got it.
but
Okay.
that's something to think about.
And I'm wondering, it may be, again, in the same vein of us trying to narrow down the scope of our commission, maybe we can table the discussion of community access monitors. I know that the state has trainings that pertain to community access monitors that aren't just pertaining to architectural barriers. They include everything from sensory, employment issues, work issues, and such, and full integration of people, and not just on an architectural basis. But then again, that would we'd probably be arguing against ourselves if we kind of put forth commission members as community access monitors versus maybe staff. Being taking those free trainings at the state level. Daryl.
Just one more comment and then I'm done, and I'm going to move that we adjourn. But
before next meeting, we got to pick a meeting. But
so, I mean, I look at it like this. We have a massive report to dissect, and it is our job right now to move that report and get all the recommendations in place. So part of that does have to do with all the roles are defined in that report. So making sure that, the description of an ADA coordinator is appropriate and it's listed on the website, and, et cetera, et cetera. All of that's in the report. So we need to take that report, focus on that report, get the recommendations implemented, and then move on from there.
All right. And I will ask a technical question, whether or not I'm aware that there's software that can then, in the same way that you switch PDF to Word, Daryl, my understanding is that there's software that allows us to switch PDF to Excel. And I think that's the way we need to, rather than reinvent and retype this whole report. I guess Jen Anderson did retype her piece and put it in Excel format. There's another 100 pages that I'm wondering does anyone have that software that could take a PDF and try to start by putting this in an Excel format, so we can start not only defining things, but prioritizing them and sorting this information.
You might have to split it all up.
And we may have to, because the Center for Living and Working, that was an oversight, not by them, but by us, and saying, you know what, you need to provide this in an Excel format as well. A PDF it's very frustrating to have this kind of stuck in a PDF document.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on to agreeing on the next meeting time and date? We typically have met on the third Thursday of the month at 6:30 is our most recent schedule. And that brings us to Thursday, August 20th, which happens to be my birthday. And I'm okay with having a meeting. No, I'll just have a drink by my side. You just won't know about it. Are we okay? Is everyone okay with August 20th at 6:30, which is a Thursday? We'll have to confirm that with Missy. And if I may ask, I'm not seeing anyone watching this meeting that is an attendee other than us. So there's no chat. I'm not seeing any Q&A that is by any outsider or chat feature by any outsider. I don't want to be missing anyone.
No.
Okay. All right. It's a lonely world, a lonely Zoom world. Is everyone okay with Thursday, August 20th?
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Daryl, seconded by Mr. Offen by roll call. Daryl Running,
Yes.
Christy Proctor,
Yes.
Matt Offen,
Aye.
Catherine Dorr,
Yes.
Bob Perla,
Yes.
Roger Trahan, aye. Meeting adjourned at 8:38 PM.